Imagine finding an old, dirty UK Elizabeth coins in a drawer, in your pocket, or even on the ground, and discovering these ordinary-looking coins, covered in dust and years of wear, can hide shocking errors, rare mint varieties, and ultra-scarce strikes that collectors would fight over. Imagine reaching into an old box, a dusty drawer, or a forgotten tin that has been sitting untouched for decades. You pick up a small, dirty, brown coin, worn, dull, and so ordinary that you almost throw it back. What if that same old, dirty 1971-era UK Elizabeth II new pence coin you're holding is actually hiding a shocking mistake made by the Royal Mint, a mistake so rare, so unexpected, and so powerful that this tiny coin? The story begins in a year that changed the entire British monetary system forever. 1971, the year of decimalization. Before this year, British money followed an ancient pattern: shillings, florins, farthings, and 240 pence in a pound. It was a complicated system deeply tied to history, but it needed modernization. So on the 15th of February, 1971, Britain officially switched to the decimal system. And the very first penny of this new era carried the inscription "New Pence." This marked a brand new chapter in British currency. One type of error collectors desperately search for is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank disc is not perfectly positioned under the dies. The result is a coin with part of the design missing and an extra border of blank metal. A dramatic off-center strike can be worth £200 to £500, even £3,000, depending on how far off the design is. Another highly valuable error is the double strike, where the coin is struck twice by the press in slightly different positions. This creates a shadow effect: letters doubled, the Queen's portrait echoed, or the reverse details shifted. A strong double strike from 1971 can easily reach £1,000 to £5,000, or even more. But one of the most legendary error types, the one that could push into six-figure or even seven-figure value, is the wrong planchet error. This happens when the coin is struck on metal mint for another denomination. Imagine a 1971 new pence accidentally struck on a 2p blank, or worse, on a foreign planchet used for another country's coins. These are the kinds of errors that can reach £50,000, £100,000, or even over £1 million, depending on the metal and rarity. Collectors also search for clipped planchets, where part of the coin's edge is missing because the blank was cut incorrectly. These can be worth anywhere from £100 to £2,000, depending on size and clarity. Then you have die cracks and die breaks, which occur when the mint's dies start to fail. These errors create lines, raised bumps, or even dramatic chunks of metal across the Queen's portrait or the new pence lettering. A major 1971 die break could bring £500 to £2,000 or more. Imagine picking up an old dirty coin from the ground, brushing off the dust, and suddenly realizing you might be holding something that's the unbelievable reality behind the mysterious and shockingly valuable 1979-era UK Elizabeth II new pence coin. A coin that continues to stun experts, collectors, and auction houses worldwide. And today, you're about to find out exactly why this coin, which most people ignore, has become one of the most hunted treasures in British numismatics. To understand why the 1979-era UK Elizabeth II new pence coin is so special, you first have to remember something simple. 1979 was supposed to be just another year of typical British coin production. Nothing unusual, nothing shocking, nothing historic. But something went wrong, something so small, so easy to miss, that most people never noticed at all. Yet this tiny mistake turned an ordinary new pence coin into a fortune-making masterpiece. One of the most valuable is the double strike error, where the coin receives two impressions from the press. Some of these double strikes are dramatic, with the Queen's portrait ghosted or shadowed. Others show the new pence lettering duplicated or stretched. Even a lightly doubled version can reach thousands of pounds, while an extreme double strike could easily break £10,000 to £50,000, depending on condition. Then there is the incredibly rare off-metal strike, where a coin meant to be struck on a bronze planchet accidentally lands on another metal, possibly a foreign blank or an experimental planchet. Off-metal errors are extremely rare in 1979, and if someone discovered one today, collectors estimate it could bring £100,000, maybe £250,000, or even more at a major auction. Next is the off-center strike, where the Royal Mint presses the design too far to one side. Some off-center coins from 1979 with the Queen's portrait partially missing or the new Pence text cut off have already reached thousands. A dramatic 40% to 70% off-center strike could easily hit £20,000 to £100,000, depending on the severity. Another incredibly valuable category is the broad strike, where the retaining collar fails, allowing the metal to expand outward, giving the coin a wider, thinner appearance. Broad strike errors in 1979 new Pence coins are quite scarce, and high-grade versions can reach thousands. A dramatic broad strike with a perfectly preserved surface could bring £10,000 or more. The mystery, the excitement, the thrill of discovering something hidden in plain sight. Some of these coins have already changed hands quietly among collectors, but many more have yet to be discovered. Every coin hunter, every collector, every viewer has a real chance to find one. This coin represents the perfect blend of history, mistake, rarity, and value. A mistake the Royal Mint never intended. A rare error that no one expected. A treasure worth thousands, even millions waiting for the right person to find it. Imagine this. You're digging through an old box of coins dusty, dirty, forgotten for decades, and you find a 1971 era UK Elizabeth V new Pence coin. It looks ordinary, worn, maybe even worthless. What if I told you that this simple, old, dirty coin, if it contains the right rare minting error, what if the coin you've been ignoring is actually one of the most valuable treasures ever struck during the early era of British decimalization? To understand the true power of the 1971 era UK Elizabeth V new Pence coin, you first have to travel back to the beginning, the year Britain officially went decimal. 1971 was historic. Old shillings and pence were replaced with shiny new decimal coins, marking the biggest currency change in modern British history. That means the 1971 5 new pence was among the very first of its kind, the first full year of mass decimal circulation. One of the most dramatic is the double strike error, where the coin is struck twice by the press. Sometimes the second strike is lightly offset, creating a mysterious shadow behind the Queen's portrait. Other times, it's completely off-center, giving the coin a distorted, almost surreal appearance. Even a small double strike can easily reach, while a dramatic, fully visible double strike could soar into £10,000 to £30,000. And if a full misaligned double strike of a 1971 5 new pence ever appears in perfect condition, that's where collectors. Then there's the extremely rare off-metal strike, one of the most valuable error types in the world of coins. This is when a coin meant to be struck on copper nickel is accidentally struck on a blank mint for another denomination or even a foreign coin. Off-metal errors from 1971 are so scarce that almost none have been documented. And that is exactly why collectors believe an undiscovered one could bring £250,000 to £500,000, or possibly over £1 million at auction. Another spectacular error is the off-center strike, where the design is pushed toward one side of the coin because the planchet was not properly centered in the press. Some of these are mild, maybe 5% or 10% off-center. But the rarest ones, 40%, 60%, even 70% off-center, are almost never seen for 1971. These dramatic errors can fetch £5,000 to £50,000, and a pristine, sharply struck off-center 1971 coin could break every known price record at the clipped planchet error. This happens when the metal sheet is punched too close to the edge, leaving part of the coin cut off. Some clipped planchets are tiny, just a little bite mark-shaped curve missing from the edge. Others are large, dramatic crescent shapes that make the coin instantly recognizable. Basic clipped coins might bring £200 to £500, but a rare, multiple clip 1971 example could easily reach many thousands at the die crack errors, where the minting die fractures, causing raised lines of metal to appear on the coin. Light die cracks are common and may only bring small premiums. But a dramatic, lightning bolt-style die crack on a first-year decimal coin, like the 1971 5 new pence, could bring £500 to £3,000, depending on severity. Imagine holding an old dirty 1997-era UK Elizabeth 50 pence coin, a coin that most people would glance at for half a second and toss into a jar without a second thought. But what if that overlooked coin is not just ordinary pocket change? What if the grime and scratches are hiding one of the rarest and most valuable error coins ever released during the modern era of British coinage? What if your old 1997 piece, the one you forgot about for years? The journey begins in 1997, a pivotal and chaotic year for the 50p coin. This was the final full year before the redesign that introduced the smaller 50p in 1998. The Royal Mint was transitioning designs, updating dies, and preparing for a complete shift in size and weight. Whenever a mint is undergoing massive production changes, strange things happen. And strange things at the mint mean valuable things for collectors. Let's start with one of the most valuable and dramatic errors, the double strike error. Most collectors have never seen a double-struck 1997 50p in any condition. When a coin is struck twice by the dies instead of once, the second strike usually lands in a slightly different position. This creates a ghostly duplicate portrait of the Queen or a shadowed second Britannia on the reverse. Even a mild double strike, but a fully shifted, powerful double strike can explode in value £10,000 to £25,000, even if the coin is sharply visible, the ultra-rare off-metal strike, the holy grail of error collecting. This is when a 50p coin is struck on a blank mint for a completely different denomination or even a foreign coin. While no off-metal 1997 50p has been officially documented, the transitional chaos of the late 90s makes the possibility extremely real. And if one ever comes to light, especially one struck on a copper-plated steel, bronze, nickel brass, or foreign planchet, its value would skyrocket. Another breathtaking error is the off-center strike, where the coin is struck with the planchet slightly or heavily misaligned. A 5%, 10%, or 15% off-center example might fetch a few £100. But a dramatic 40% or 50% off-center strike, especially on a large-size 50p, could easily rise to £5,000 to £10,000. Or even a 70% off-center strike would be a museum-level piece, likely fetching £50,000 to £100,000 or more at auction. Another valuable and visually striking error type is the broad strike error, caused by the collar failing during the strike, allowing the metal to expand outward unnaturally. The coin becomes wide, soft-edged, and almost flattened. A 1997 broad strike, especially in a large-size 50p, can command £1,000 to £7,000. A dramatic broad strike or one combined with another error could easily surpass £15,000 that the 1997 50p coin itself makes it even more collectible. It marks the final year of an era, the end of the original, large, heavy 50p coin that had circulated since decimalization nearly 3 decades earlier. That alone gives it sentimental and historic value. But combine that with the possibility of rare minting errors, and suddenly this coin becomes one of the most exciting discoveries. Every collector knows that the last year of a coin's design often carries special importance. It's the final chapter, the last impression before a major change. And because the mint was preparing for that change, the environment was ripe for mistakes that today are worth astonishing sums. And what makes this search so thrilling is that many of the rarest errors haven't been found yet. Some collectors believe they're still out there, mixed with millions of ordinary coins, waiting for the right person to look closely enough. Imagine the excitement, the disbelief, the shock when someone realizes that a coin they thought was worthless, a dirty, neglected 1997 50p, is actually a once-in-a-generation discovery worth life-changing money. And that's why the 1997-era UK Elizabeth 50p coin has become one of the most electrifying coins in the modern British series. It's not just currency. It's mystery. It's history. It's the thrill of uncovering a hidden treasure that everyone else overlooked for decades. So before you throw away or spend that old, worn 1997 coin, stop. Look again. Check the strike. Check the alignment. Check the edges. Turn it under the light. Because the rarest and most valuable 1997 error may still be out there, and its value